So I'm here today to share a story about how I built a massive sports card collection all on my own without any help. No mentors, no inside communications, no inside connections, just pure hustle, sports card hustlers, trial, error, and a lot of lessons, I guess you could say, learned along the way. Definitely a lot of lessons learned along the way. If you're starting out or you're looking for, I guess, some inspiration that you might want to have to inspire you to collect sports cards or to continue collecting or whatever that could be, this video is right up your alley. So stay tuned for some things that, how I have gotten to where we are today, and maybe you're probably in the same boat. So the first thing is like getting started. Why did I start? What was my important part of starting a sports card collection? Why did I want to do this? Like, what challenges did I face? So when I first started this, like, why did I start? When I first started, I knew about sports cards when I was a kid, and we always watched sports, and there wasn't any fantasy. There was ESPN, and you couldn't have any like the watch sports from around the world, only on ESPN or ABC or NBC or things like that. And I always just connected it with my favorite players or my favorite teams or whatever that could be in the sport of baseball, in the sport of hockey, basketball, football, auto racing, golf, whatever that could be when I was a kid back in like the late 80s and early 90s. And it really got me into collecting sports cards. Definitely wasn't about the money, not even it's about the money now. And it wasn't about the money when I was a kid. It was just about getting, like, I know I was always big on Eric Lindros when I was a kid because he was like a hometown guy and on our favorite sports team on the Flyers. And I always try to collect all his cards, even though he didn't really paint out to what we thought he was going to be. But he was my one go to in the late 80s, early 90s to get his card. And I always went after his card. Every card I saw, I tried to get. And back then there wasn't a lot of parallels. There wasn't a lot of inserts. It was just like base cards or error cards or things like that. That's way different than now than it was back in the day. So that's kind of how I started and why I started, just because I follow sports on TV and watch sports on TV and just wanted to get their cards as I did it. So, like, what challenges, I guess you could say, did I face when I did this? And like the challenges were parallels, inserts, learning the lingo. Like when I first came back into it, 25 years later, I didn't know much about parallels. I didn't know much about inserts. I didn't know there were so many different things to choose from. Like back in the day, you're looking at like, okay, maybe I'll get the tops, maybe I'll get upper deck, maybe I'll get whatever, OPG, right, and whatever. And now it's like you have 30 different brands of Topps baseball. It's crazy. Not 30 different brands, obviously, but you get my drift. I exaggerate a little bit. But, where to buy, what to buy, what am I doing? Where am I buying this stuff at? Where do I get it from? And, back in the day, we used to go to 7-Eleven. We used to go to, like, there wasn't any Walmarts or Targets or things like that. So, like, where do you get this stuff from? Whereas now, it's so much more easy access. But sometimes it is very hard to find things. And meaning, like, thinking in my head now, like, we are doing a sports card insider group. And what that's going to happen is if you comment insider in the comments, we will send you a link for an email, and you can sign up through your email. And we will send you every about monthly, we'll send a release date and things like that when they're coming out, when boxes are coming out, or when new cards are coming out, or who's the top cards, or whatever that could be. Because anywhere in this world, it's hard to find everything all in one thing. So we're trying to put everything together so it'll help you guys out. So if you comment insider, we'll send you the link, sign up, and then look forward to that email. But where to buy, what to buy? I mean, what do you buy when you do all this kind of crazy stuff? And like, where did I buy when I was a kid? And there wasn't many places, hobby shops and things like that, but there wasn't many places to buy this stuff. And the moment I decided to go all in was, we started doing this channel, and Scotty's like, we got to do a sports card channel. And I'm like, all right, whatever, because I teach all day. And, obviously I have no voice now. But let's do a sports card channel. And maybe that sports card channel will take off. And now look, here we are with almost 1,500 subscribers. We got the same amount on TikTok and almost 700 subscribers on Instagram, and a lot of great comments with you guys, a lot of great camaraderie, community, and things like that, which really helps you out, helps us out, and helps us out, the whole entire community. And I don't think many people do this, and we made our own niche for this sports card group because I open boxes up all the time, and that nobody even sees that. 10 people see it. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of gear that towards like Instagram, TikTok, and now we're kind of gearing towards YouTube, just talking to you guys and opening that and like that community aspect. So that's how this channel evolved, and that's when I decided to jump all back in, a couple of years ago, and then started doing this channel and learning about sports cars all over again, learning that they have autos now and parallels and inserts and all this kind of crazy stuff that when I was a kid they did not have. Um, my father-in-law would get us packs. My mom would go to like maybe like Wawa and get my son and my daughter some packs, and we would open them up. And I was like, oh, here and then now you have like Pokemon packs at McDonald's, and then that started getting us back into like maybe I should start getting into this and start collecting it. And obviously we get into it now. It's $35 for a blaster box where it was like $15. So of course you get into it on the high end, but it is pretty cool to do it with the family and stuff like that. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. But that's why I got started. That's how I got started. Not a crazy story, just watching sports and getting into it. My first wins and my first mistakes, there's many of them, and there's not many first wins, but it's still cool to do it. And that really helped us out in building this huge collection, is because like when I was a kid, we used to go to flea markets. We would go to in town, and we would try to either buy cards or we would kind of sell cards, and we would have a table up and we'd have all our cards there, and we didn't know how much they were worth. We'd get like the Beckett book out and see how much they were worth, and then put like numbers on each of the plastic top loaders, and then sell them and make maybe like $20 or $30, and we thought we were rich, and then we would go around, and then that $30 you would go get cards from other vendors in the area at that kind of flea market. And I remember one time we were going through, and then I go to his table, and he had all like a lot of Lindros cards. And like, remember I told you I was in the Lindros, so I would go into Lindros and looking at this table, and I found this one card, this Eric Lindros card. I still have it now. I should have brought it in here and showed you, but I could put a picture of it up later on like Instagram, TikTok. You guys can check it out. But this card, I got it. I think I spent like $10 on it, whatever it was. It wasn't crazy, but to me, $10 was a lot of money back then when I was 12 years old, 11 years old. And I come back and everybody's like, that's a fake card. That's a fake card. There's not even a name on it, or whatever it is. And, I still have it to this day. And then I don't even know if it's fake or not. I never really researched it. But I always remember that sticking in my head. I spent this money on the card, my first card to buy, and we thought it was fake. So I tried to bring it back to the guy, and he wouldn't take it back and wouldn't give me my money back. So I mean, a kid doing that and thinking that's crazy that you wouldn't do that. But nowadays you kind of have to watch, what's going on. But that was always stood out in my mind as my first mistake on whether the card was fake or not fake, and research. You have to do a lot of research, especially nowadays. You do a lot of research. But what really got me back in now was like my mom got my son a pack, and it was a basketball pack. I forget even what basketball cards it was, and brought it back, and we were opening it up, and then we found an autograph in there. I'm like, what? There's autographs in these packs, these hanger packs and things like that. I didn't even know that they had that. And that was like probably like pre-COVID, like 2018, 2019. And I wasn't really in it before that. And like prior, like from like 2000 to like 2015, 2016, I didn't really get into it because I was in college and working and all that stuff and having kids. So I didn't have really money to do that. Not that I have money now, but that was like the first time I got back from like, there's autos in these things. I got to get some baseball cards and hockey cards to see if I can get some autographs of those. Because I don't really follow basketball too much. I watch games and things like that, but I don't really follow it too much. I follow more baseball and hockey and football. But that was a pretty funny fact that we kind of, I guess it got the ball rolling and trying to get back into it. And then my father-in-law would get his cards at baseball games and get my son cards, and we would open them up, and then he would say, like, look at these cards we got. And he would show us his old Roberto Clemente card and things like that that he had from like the 50s. And then we got into it. And then Scotty's like, let's do the video. We want to do the channel. And then we're here we are, years and years later with over 1,000 subs, which is pretty cool. So that's a really cool thing. And that's how I got started. My first wins, my first mistakes, things like that. I wrote down research and learning the game. Now that's very important because, I didn't have anybody to teach me what I was doing. I just self-taught myself, and I'm not really the smartest person in the world, but I like to research. I like to do due diligence. I look at research what's going on and what cards are good, what cards are bad, what boxes are good, what boxes are bad, to get, which ones are more worth value, which ones are on a pretty cheap value, if you can get some good discounts in these and that, and whatever that could be. And self-taught is very important, so you know what you're doing. It's very important to research and to know what you're doing and know what you're buying, because if you just go on there buying blinds, you're going to get burnt in the end, even though getting junky cards or trying to sell them, whatever that could be, and that's going to kind of make it not as valuable to you in the end. Grading, I self-taught myself what the grading process was. I knew there was PSA out there. I know there's other things out there, but I didn't know what the process was, how to do it. So I got a Shohei Ohtani out of 25 Big League Baseball card from 2023 last year. I'm like, oh, let me send in the grade. And it was like, after it was all sent, it was like $45. And send this card in, figured out how long it would take, how much money it was, did the entire process. I think I did a video on a couple months ago. And that was my first grading experience. Just taught myself how to do it. Not that hard. You can do it as long as you have time, as long as you can kind of sit down and just read about it, what's going on and what the process was, watch some YouTube videos on people that graded. It's the whole entire thing to do and see what's happened, right? Card values is very important to be self-taught about card values. You got to do that. Like if you want to have cards and you want to have like which ones to put in plastic, which ones to put in your base card collection, which ones you want to sell, which ones you want to keep forever, like stuff like that is very important. And you have to research yourself. I mean, you can have 1,000 cards. Nobody's going to do it other than you. So it's your job to do your own cards. I mean, I guess you can get somebody to pay to do it, but I mean, it's just a very, very long-winded process. And, it took me about all summer, the first time I looked at all my old cards from when I was a kid, took me a good summer to go through all my cards. And I didn't have a lot. But go through all my cards and see which ones are valuable, which ones are not valuable, looking on eBay, looking on 130 Point, ComC, all that stuff too. Looking at trends, eBay listings, what's happening with the Mike Trout card, what's happening with the Ohtani card, what's happening with the Wemby card, or CJ Stroud, or Jaden Daniels, or Barkley, Saquon Barkley. So like, what are all these things happening? Which ones are good? Which ones are good value? Which ones are good buys now? Which ones are good sells now? You got to do your research on that. If you're trying to sell, try to make some money, that's very important to do. Blaster versus hobby box. There's a lot of stuff I can go on. This video could be like 45 years long. You know what I'm saying? But like blaster and a hobby box, like what's the difference between a blaster and a hobby box? Hobby boxes are more money. Blasters, are less money, but they're not, as you might get lower end cards on these things. There's a lot of things to research, and I self-taught almost all this stuff with Scotty's help, of course. He helped us out with the process and what websites to use and all that stuff. So he's a really good help behind the scenes that you might not see. But there's so many different types of parallels and inserts I taught myself, and you got every year you got to teach yourself that stuff, because then the new NHL Series 2 is coming out. Okay, what's the parallels? What's the inserts? Who's the important card? Which ones you want to try to get? What kind of cards you want to try to get? The Kaboom cards, or in Absolute Football, or like whatever you're trying to do. There's a lot of stuff to wrap your head around. I'm just going over the base stuff now. So it's very important to kind of look at, and talking in forums, talking on eBay, or talking on YouTube, asking people questions on our channel, other channels as well, going in like Facebook and doing groups in there, or Reddit. Like there's a lot of places you can answer those questions from, and they can really help you out. The community is great, and what I have seen over the last few years, and it's a pretty cool thing to do. But research is very important. Networking, networking is very important. You can do that without help very easily. You can go to local card shops, talk to them, get to know who's working there, whatever. Sometimes you can go in there and they give you a pack for free or give you a discount if you buy it in bulk. There's a lot of things you can do to save money, and also bring your cards in there, and they can, look at stuff like that too. Excuse me. And, give you values for your cards and all that stuff too. So, I mean, Facebook groups, the same way I talked about before, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, commenting on people's, on their videos and asking them questions and learning the process, that's networking and talking to them, right? In Instagram, we have a lot of pretty cool other channels that we kind of converse with, go back and forth and help each other out. And it's a cool thing because it's a good community. It's good networking, and it's always good to know people, and maybe they can help you out in the future. You can help them out in the future, or you're just friends and having the community atmosphere. It's the whole important part of doing this, right? And you can also find deals on eBay, right? Networking. This is your own networking without help, but like eBay is very important to when you're buying stuff. Research, but also, my thing is after hours, right? So after hours sales, after hours auctions, when things are getting done like 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night, right? You might not find a lot of people that are bidding on these things. You can probably get things in a pretty good price, maybe less than it would be like getting done at 4 o'clock when everybody's watching it. So like looking at that stuff and looking at for a card you might want to get, see when the auction's ending, and you might be able to get it during that time when it's like after hours. So it's very important networking. Without help, you can do it very easily. So the question here is, how did I grow my collection without a lot of money? So my example would be I bought a hanger pack of like the Donruss Optic last year, and that was my first pack. And I opened it up and I got one of those green variety CJ Strouds, and I got a card, and that was worth. I think I sold it for it was like valued at like maybe 250, 260, $270. Um, I sold it just because it was a high expensive card. I could have got it graded, might have been worth more, whatever. But I mean, I can buy more boxes. I actually bought a couple, like a hobby box, my first hobby box with that money, which was pretty cool. Really didn't find anything, but it was cool to see the first hobby box that I got. But you can grow your collection by getting like variety packs and things like that are very, very like relatively cheap. My daughter loves opening up the Hot Tops Holiday 2024 2024 tins. And those tins are, I think they're like $15 if you can find them at Walmart or Target, whatever that could be. I think they're like $25 or $30 on Amazon. I wouldn't pay that much for it, right? But we have found a couple Santas in there, and some of the Santas are $20, and you make your money back. And some of you might be able to find some tree cards and the blue tree and the regular trees and all that stuff in a pretty relatively cheap box. And it's like, you know, the more boxes you buy, obviously, the more singles you're going to get. It's not as fun, just buying singles. It is less expensive, but I mean, I always buy singles, but when we open boxes up with my kids, we try to open up like cheaper boxes and things like that. And that keeps the fun in them for them. And when they get older, look, oh, look, I used to do that with my dad 20 years ago, and I'm going to do it with my kids. And it's just like, it just prolongs the entire experience for them and gives them nostalgia. And then they'll go through the entire process. Like I went through the entire process with my dad and my grandparents and all that stuff. So it's a pretty cool thing how I'm passing that down. But yes, buying singles is probably the way to go. To grow your collection without it being so expensive. But again, like I said before, late night auctions, wheeling and dealing, you save a lot of money. At shows, best offer, all that stuff can really help you out if you're trying to find collections or singles that are not relatively expensive. Um, but sometimes you can get a good card and sell it, and then you make money. Then you use that money forever you want, or you want to keep it and hold on to it and see if it grows in value. That's the whole entire collecting. I'm not here to flip cards and make money and things like that, but every now and then I will, just to get some more funds back so I can use that for more boxes and things like that, or singles. Like if I find a CJ Stroud card, then I can get like 20 other cards that are worth less in value, but maybe eventually they'll be more in value. So it's all like a stock market. You're trying to wheel and deal and things like that too. But takeaways, how you can grow your sports card collection, without any help. Takeaways for beginners, I would say patience. Have patience. Don't chase the hype, because that will make it buy high, and then it might dip down, and then you're left with nothing, little to no value. Research. Do your due diligence. Research. How much is this going for? What are the trends? What's happening on eBay? What's happening on 130 point? What's happening in the world of sports cards? Watch Play Fantasy. Who's having a great season? Who's having a bad season? Maybe you want to buy when they have a bad season, because then maybe next year they'll be on a good season. Maybe they're in a contract year coming up this year, like Kyle Schwarber's in a contract year. Castellanos is in a contract year. Maybe you want to try to get their cards, and they might have a great year this year. Then you sell at the end. So, I mean, it's up to you. And like, again, I don't really sell and buy and things like that and switch and wheel and deal at that much, right? I just try to kind of stay towards singles and just build my collection and open packs with my kids and have that community aspect. That's just me, but everyone's different, and research does a big deal. But you do not need a huge budget. Just need smarts, just need due diligence, right? Just need passion and hustle, hence the word sports card hustling, right? And that's where you're going to find, and then have that experience mean it even more meaningful to you in the end. So other than that, hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if you want to get in part of Insider Club, comment Insider in the comments, and we'll send you that link to email, and you guys can sign up for that. But if you have any questions, comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know your passion. maybe your collection, how you grew your collection with little to no money. What do you use the best? Give us some things that you might use, and we'll get back to you, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation, I guess you could say, back and forth. But we appreciate you guys watching to the end of this video. It's a 20-minute video, and let us know if you guys have anything else, comments, and let us know if you have any other comments down below. So send us down below and let us know. I keep on saying it over and over again, but here you go, okay? But we appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you guys later. Peace.